Hello and welcome to Love Anything Art. Today I'll show you how I made this pattern. I'm going to use some scrap clay for this project. These are some of the scraps that I've used in previous videos, and if you are interested in these patterns, the links are in the description box below. I'm also going to be using some of this color clay and some of this color clay. And I did choose some colors that looked good with my scrap clay. You can choose any color that you like. With each of these piles, I will chop them up separately. When chopping them up, the size really doesn't matter. You can kind of make it as big, wide, thick, small as you would like. Just chop it up pretty good to kind of distort the shape of everything. And I have mine into pretty small pieces, and I will break it up, and then I will work on the second pile. Again, chopping it, and then once I'm done, I'll begin laying them into a long rectangular shape. You want it to be relatively a thin layer of the scrap clay. Once you kind of have it into the shape, use your fingers to gently start pressing all of your little pieces together. Use your roller once you have it pretty good together. Give it a nice gentle roll. You don't really want to flatten a whole lot, just joining everything together. You can also use a tissue blade to make your sides a little bit straighter. Do be sure to flip it over and do the same to the other side. This will make it all one solid piece. I've done both of my scrap pieces. And of course, you know, I drop my clay. That's what I do. Oh, shaky hands. That's what they call me. No, I'm just kidding. They don't really call me that. But this is that clay that I showed you in the beginning. And the name is kind of scratched out, but I think it's like a pearl magenta. Just cut off a piece of that. Roll it out into a long tube shape. This is mine. You can make it as thick as you would like. Then with your scraps, be sure that your thickness of your strip of clay is the same width as your rolled out magenta clay. And we'll set that aside for just a moment, and we'll be using this blue sparkly clay. Again, just cut off a chunk. I ran this through my pasta machine on a pretty thin setting. I'll take my little magenta rolled out clay and wrap it in a thin layer of the blue. Can cut down the sides to make sure they're the same width. That way everything matches up. Just roll it up, cut off any excess clay. You can make a little divot in there by gently rolling the clay over on itself, and you'll see the line when you move it away. And then just gently roll it just to close up any gaps and to join that clay together. You really don't want to elongate your piece. You just want to join the pieces. You'll start wrapping it in your scrap clays. I'm going to start with my purple colored one. Wrap it around. Cut off any excess. And then again, just gently roll, just to join the pieces together. You don't want to elongate your piece. I'll again wrap that in some of that blue clay, cut away the excess, and gently roll. Now I will wrap it in the pink scrap clay. Gently roll to join everything together. And I do want that layer to kind of be a little bit thicker than the other ones. So I'm going to wrap it again in that same color of scrap clay. You could have done this with the purple layer too. It's kind of whatever you want to do, however you want it to look. It's totally up to you. You do whatever your little heart desires. And then again, wrapping it in the blue. You want to wrap the blue around in between each of your layers. And then I'll just gently roll. And you can begin slicing off. You can make your pieces as thick as you would like, but I do want them to be relatively thin. And I've rolled out some more of that blue clay. This time it's a bit thicker than the last. This will be the backing for my veneer. And then I've rolled out that pink clay from earlier, and it's pretty thin. You want it to be a very thin layer of this magenta. With the blue clay, I'll take my little circular discs and start placing them on the blue clay. Just layering and stacking. You can kind of do whatever you want. I don't want any of the blue to show through, so I'm making sure to overlap them pretty well. You could put them side by side so that they're just barely touching. Then you would have the blue showing through underneath. But if you want your piece to look that way, you just do whatever you want to do at this point. This is just kind of what I decided to do with mine. Once I've completely covered the blue clay, you can cut off any scraps that might be hanging over the side there. Now you can just stop here and leave it to where it's kind of raised if you want to go for that kind of a look, but I do want to have mine very flat and flush, so I am going to place it on a piece of paper, place another piece of paper on top, and then just start lightly burnishing with my hand. Now you can use your fingers, you can use your roller. I wouldn't recommend at this point putting it through your pasta machine if you have one. I would wait until it's pretty well burnished, and then if you could put it through maybe on your thickest setting, but that might distort your piece a little bit. But if that's the look you're going for, go ahead. And I am going to stop and check my progress as I go just to make sure that I'm burnishing everything well and even. And once I get to the point where it's nice and smooth, I can remove it from the paper, flip it over on its backside there so that the blue clay is showing up, and then just cut away all of the excess. Try and make it into a square or rectangular shape just to get rid of all of those ragged edges there. I do like the way it turned out. I love it, love it, love it. And this is that magenta clay that I had rolled out a minute ago. This is going to be the thin layer that goes over the top. You do, before you start, want to make sure that it completely covers your piece. And mine does, so I can take it back off my clay. And make sure you kind of stretch it out to remove any wrinkles so it's nice and flush with your workstation. And you can use any tool you have or any pattern you have to make a light pattern on your clay. These are just some of the tools that I have that I'm going to kind of show you that you can use, and then I will show you which one I ultimately use. You can use like a needle pointed tool. This would probably take you a long time to go over the surface of your clay, but it might give you the look that you'd like. And also I have this weird looking tool that's got like these two little dot things, which I kind of like. And this would take you a long time too, but if you have the patience to do so, you could just start making a pattern out of that on top, and I think it would probably come out pretty good. But I do have this tool and I love using this in a lot of projects, so I'm just going to roll this over the top surface very lightly on my entire piece of magenta colored clay. You can go back over it. I do have an air bubble in there, unfortunately, but it's okay. Just keep rolling and rolling. Once I've done that, I'm going to place it on a piece of paper. It's going to make it easier for the next step, for me anyway. I'm going to make circles cut out of the clay. You can use different sized circle cutters that you have. I have this circular one that's a metal one. And then I did think of this pin idea today. I'm just going to unscrew the top part there and pull out the ink stick. And I'm going to use that piece right there to make holes. You can use anything you have laying around your house, guys. You could use this too. This is just a makeup pencil cap. Go ahead and clean it before you use it. Just using a Q-tip. You can get rid of all those gookies in there. And it's all nice and cleaned, and I can now use this for my project. I do want to start with the largest circle cutter I have and work my way to the smallest one. I just thought that logically made sense to me, but I'll just start taking the largest circle cutter I'm going to use and taking out chunks of the clay. Save that clay because of course you can reuse it, right? And just remove any pieces that might be stuck in there, just using this dotting tool. And that did not cut all the way through, but it's okay. I'll just go ahead and remake my cut in there, and it'll pull right out. And then I'm going to move down to my next smallest size, and just randomly cutting out circles. Make it look however you want, as holy as you want. Now, the more holes you take out, the more of your pattern underneath it's going to show through, which is ultimately what I kind of want. And just make sure you clean out your pin cap there, and you can reuse your pin. Going down to the next size, just cutting out in between the larger circles. Just keep cutting away, cutting away. Once you have it looking the way you want, and this is mine, then we can move on to placing that over our beautiful veneer scrap clay. Be sure that you place the side with the pattern or design on it facing up so you can see that beautiful design. Once I have it on there, I'm going to flip it over and remove all of the excess magenta clay that's over the top there. And I love it already. I did make some cutters out of paper. I just took a piece of paper, folded it in half, cut around the outside and the inside, and just made random shapes, honestly. I just kind of just started using my imagination and cutting. Did the same here. So if you fold the paper in half, it's going to give you a mirror image when you open it up, which it did here. Just random things that I came up with. And that's the heart that I cut out of there, so it gives you a nice perfect sized shape heart that you can use. But just place your templates on your clay. I'm going to use an X-Acto knife and start cutting out the shapes of everything. You can perfect and smooth out the edges once you've cut out all of your pieces, so don't worry about that. If you have cutters and you want to use those for this project, that would be a good idea too, but I don't have a lot of cutters personally, so I just used my imagination and made some out of paper. Welcome to my world. Once I have done the cutting, I did use a stick pin and placed it in where the eye hooks will be after I have baked my pieces. Be sure to kind of plan it out before you bake it. You can also do your holes after you bake them. And I did resin my pieces, and these are them, and I assembled them also, just really simple design and pattern ideas. So I hope you liked this video. I really liked my random patterns that I made. I had a lot of fun creating and coming up with these, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next Tuesday. As always, thank you so much for watching. Bye!